Primer Acid ID has Asabel support. Okay, some video. Mm-hmm. Actually, this is important for me right now. No. I want landscape. Content browser basic. Oh, there we go. I have to go to landscape mode. That's 10 meters by 10. Oh, that's okay. I want to know how it will behave. What's the problem? All right. Okay, just a few things I need to adjust. Actually, no, there's a lot of things I need to adjust. But to do that, I genuinely need to have a bigger level. Okay. Mm. Not context, it's sort of meaningless. What the fuck is this? That's a bit nonsensical. Oh, okay, left it open. The correct one. Let's say I want to have 10-second level, so I need to have that checkpoint. Okay. Like that movement speed is not satisfying. Okay. But I made this a bit smaller. Okay, so that's just a little bit. I think that's a bit more interesting. But the character is a bit of weight now. Yeah, that's a bit too much even. Whereas that's still like relatively low precision, so I need to with relatively high precision. Am I happy with the jump height? Yeah. Okay, so that doesn't behave correctly. Okay. I kind of like the speed. I like the control. Oh, hey, I managed to hide your chat just precisely. How's it going? Yeah, nah, I feel you. I feel you. I just got most of the. I sort of finished what I wanted to do with the temporary UI, so like having an opening and ending screen. So now I have like start. Like of course most of these buttons are not working, right? But for time being, the start works, which is what I wanted. And now I'm yeah, it starts to feel like more like a game. But now I am back at something I really didn't want to deal with. Basically, I have to look into creating a playable level, and I kind of dread the idea. But at the same time, I feel like I need to have level, like 10 seconds level with stuff to be able to tell if the game is fun. And to be able to make the make actual systems work as they're supposed to work. But yeah, I'm not exactly a level designer, so it's not easy. I don't even quite know where I want to get, like how I want the game to play. I mean, I have the vision. I have vision of how I want the game to look while being played. But then there's the question of, cool, the vision looks cool, but how do I make it fun? Yeah, no, I feel you. It's like I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. So this is a nice distance. It's like it requires you to start the game with double jump, which is cool. Then I want player. Then I want the path to be about going into slide, and that's when I realized, oh, well, this doesn't work because the character goes into a falling state. So I have to adjust that value. Yeah, I don't really want it to just bash against the wall like that. So I want to, I will want players to just kind of like slide up and down. So that's something I want to do. Like I have to fix this interaction where player just stops. But at the same time, I'm not sure whether it stops because of the low polygon mesh or whether it stops because it hits a slope. But I'm pretty sure that is because it hits a slope. I'm pretty sure it's because it's of the actual angle change. But yeah, could be that as well. That it doesn't slide because it's very sharp. Like it's like it's hitting a wall. So the issue is that the blockout I'm working, the blockout scene I'm using is quite low poly. It has a cargo ship though. I guess that's cool. It was cheap. Yeah, I genuinely don't know what I'm doing. But you know what? I know there's an issue here, but let's continue. So we're going onto this with slide, which is currently broken. And then from that, I could have, let's say, three curving paths. Hey, come on, I had this the snap to location plugin. Window tools. Oh, I think I saw it. Teleport to mouse. So what are you working on? Man, I literally have to do ability icons at work, and I despise graphic designs. I'm so bad at it. It's leaving me so bloody tired. I really cannot do with that. Okay. That sounds fun. About the keybinds. What are you trying to do exactly? Because I've been kind of on and off on that stream lately. It's Control T. Okay, that works. Okay. Well, best of luck to you, because it doesn't sound easy. I can tell that much. It doesn't sound easy. Okay, no, that's great. And that you're getting it forward. Fuck's sake. Oh, there it is. The people have no idea how hard it is to get anything done, to be honest. Like, I'm genuinely not surprised that so few people actually finish their indie projects. Okay, the idea is like you would go down here, and then there's long path and short path. The reason why I want to try doing this is because I want movement to like kind of, I want players to have to be mindful with how they approach it. I want it to be like decent degree of inertia, so they really have to be mindful about how you operate and navigate. So like you would go in here after a slide with decent amount of speed, and then you try to basically cross this for the next checkpoint. I could make it two like smaller openings. Maybe it's bigger on this, and I'm sure I'm gonna have to revert to the old Tomb Raider's way of level design, you know, where like I'm gonna, once I have the feeling of movement nailed down, I will have to create a proper zoo with this is the player distance at these speeds, and then basically use this as atlas. And I will also want to create like prefabs. Okay, why is you breaking? That's broken, okay. Oh, here's the thing, right? I feel like, okay, this is starting to feel, I think strafe input is too strong. Because the lagging, the character lags actually, you know, this starts to feel like kind of what I want, because I really do want the character to have inertia. At the same time, I'm questioning whether that's the, because that works fine, but that works fine if you have a decent feeling of speed. And again, this is like 48. How many is it? Wait. Let's say 48 meters. No, that's centimeters per second, I think. Is it how it is? Speed of player. Materials, meshes, characters. No, in here. Let's see. I want speed. Speed is set to 4,800 centimeters per second, and let's start 2 kilometers per. Well, that's the miles. I'm more familiar with miles these days. That's 100 miles an hour. Okay, that's character humanoid running at 100 miles an hour. That's okay, given if I narrow the stage. That can work. That's a decent speed at peak. It would also allow for some really cool animations. Okay, that's pretty good. That actually you have to be mindful about how you approach this. And now I'm finding it miserably. Okay, you go in. Okay, I think that's jumpable. I can make it a little bit easier. Actually, wait, let's go for obstacle. We'll try that as well. Enable rotation. I don't seem to have rotation speed set up. Okay. Seems like rotation speed is not actually exposed as instantiable variable, which is a bit of an issue, but it's fine. Not a big deal. Why am I missing the controllers, control icons? Viewport toolbar, there we go. But yeah, honestly, level design, I've never done level design, and I don't think I don't like it. But I also don't think I really enjoy it. Although it might change once I get some, more accustomed to it. Okay. Then you jump through this. Let's make it like a shared triangular platform. I can just use this cone. But yeah, I'm curious whether Jet's gonna ever finish his game. Okay, let's have this little bit. Yeah, I feel you. Okay, this felt cool. Honestly, I like that I had moment where I was like, okay, you know what? I have to dodge this thing. That I like this. And then you go like that. I'm very particular about getting shit done. Okay, that's gonna go like this. Okay, this works. This feels good. This feels good. There's one thing I have to add, and that's extremely important. Coyote time. That's one thing that's extremely fucking important. If you're not familiar, coyote time is basically term used for letting player input jump even if they're already falling, so that you don't end up with awful feeling jump mechanic of games like Dark Souls, because those were actually unfortunately notorious for honestly pretty badly feeling fucking jumps. So I did. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm thinking about. Wait, what do you mean, like with input buffer? I'm confused. Because wouldn't that be that would store? Yeah, I'm kind of confused. How would you do that? Because wouldn't input buffer work the other way? It's not about having press button space early. It's about having it space too early, too late. Yeah, so I don't think that would work, because this is actually kind of the opposite. This is trying to jump when you're already off the platform. So it's not you trying to queue up jump for when you touch the platform. That's actually working the opposite way. I guess easiest way to make it work would be to scan, to basically trace behind player. If player wants to jump, just check how far away behind them is obstacle. So if they jump, but let's say obstacle is then less than 50 units away, it still treats them as being on the ground. That could work. Or actually even simpler, just spawn capsule under the character to jump. Yeah, there's quite a few solutions I could think for that. Or there might be a way. I would not be surprised if there was a trigger on when the character starts falling. At very least, there is a trigger on landing, so there might be a trigger on falling as well. I've not checked that. So that's something to note. Yeah, there is state for is falling, but I'm wondering if there's event that fires when that state is enabled. Because I don't really want to listen for it on every tick. Because when you land, there's basically on collision that fires event. Yeah, that's probably a way to go. No. No, I think I made it a little bit too difficult for a start. Let's move it forward by a little bit. Okay, so that's interesting. Okay, I have to actually be mindful of it. So if I want to go there, I have to approach this turn from the left side and then turn in here. And then I can go into this window. I think this makes me bounce in not a nice way, so I'm gonna push it forward a bit. I went into a slide. There's an issue that I don't really like how I don't feel that speed gets built up. And I think that control is a bit too little. It's a bit... But again, I'm not really strafing. I'm kind of extremely conservative with my inputs. So that's on me. Okay. Now I want to have a round wall like this. Let's make it big. Okay, it's a bit too small. I would like something. I would like it a bit bigger. And I'm doing that because I want to try something, how that would actually behave. Because I have not tried that. I'm curious how that would behave. There's one checkpoint here. I could maybe make it in the lower part here. Move it down a bit. Now I could have another one as you cross these. Well, normally I would not have that. You would not have that many checkpoints, so that's not really necessary. I think it's fine if I just have it in here. There we go. 1, 2. This is not right. Something broke. Yeah, this is not great. One thing I learned so far is that I hire basically more geometry. Okay, it needs to stick to the wall. Need to plier must stick to wall on wall right. Slide angle must be oriented. So let plier jump from no. Those players slide on steep surfaces. Yeah, this needs to basically stick the character to the wall. I'd have to, it doesn't feel good. That movement just doesn't feel nice. We'll just sort of okay. It's like FPS movement. What can I do to make it feel nice? Let's think for a second. Do I need more control? I think I just need to play some games to really get a bit of a to build up more understanding of what makes these games tick. Because with cars it's easy. Well, easy. But like, what makes movement like Titanfall feel fun? I mean, Titanfall was all about keeping air. I think the issue is that ground movement isn't particularly fun unless you have to avoid stuff. Yeah, I think that's really an issue. I started, the start feels okay. This doesn't feel bad. Like, sure, it doesn't feel great, but I could just dash play out at like super high speed, like. Then you have this obstacle, and then slide down. And then what I would expect from this. The moment you go into this, like, okay, doesn't feel cool. You do this double jump here, okay, that's cool. Then you go into slide. It doesn't work, so it's not fully operational. Then you go in here. You dodge the obstacles, right? But that doesn't really feel like. If I don't give player enough control, obstacles will feel random and frustrating. If I give too much, that's not going to feel good. In general, that I do want it to be deterministic, so. Yeah, this doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel good at all, but that's because it's broken. That explains it. I jumped in here and it is challenging and it's not easy, which is a good thing in the importer. That actually I'm quite happy with. But, you know, you're gonna go in here and you actually have to be mindful of that if you want to keep speed. But that's the thing. Keep momentum. That's my problem. I want to how do I work on preserving momentum? I think I just have to create myself set of guidelines, like set of rules that would make the level feel good. I have to probably play some Titanfall and really understand how that works. How do they structure that level? One thing a lot of these character games do is that they have opponents, but not even like fighting opponents, just something to shoot. And I think I'm starting to understand why. It just gives you something to do so that you don't focus only on map. But Trackmania doesn't need that. Because Trackmania has drifting mechanics. It requires you to constantly toggle and focus on input. But character makes that inherently easier because you have more control. Yeah, Diffrag is all about inertia. Serve is all about keeping up inertia. Even Deadlock is all about staying in the air. Neon White also about jumping, timing your jumps and using abilities. How to streamline this to make movement fun? What should I focus on? Okay, let's think for a second. Where's my Myro? What makes movement in games fun?
Every first thing it does is laugh at you. It's not funny. There's a gun, right, where you flip a coin and shoot it, and it fucking ricochets towards an enemy. You can flip that same coin, switch to the rail cannon, and then combo them together. This game is all style, all substance. It's got slide hopping, ground pounding, a literal style meter. Go look up devilmayquake.com and tell me where it leads you.
Single player.
Goals
Single
is
player
fucking
does make it easier to create illusion of speed by Cursing Foul. That doesn't work quite as well in third person, so that's something I'm gonna have to be aware of.
Control to force you away from panic rolling and button mashing. Every action is designed to have a deliberate feel to it. It was at this point that I internally facepalmed myself so goddamn hard, because in the same video, I referenced the Red Dead Redemption 2 controls and how they felt clunky to me, and realized I was describing a game with a slower, more deliberate feel to it, occasionally busting out its own stamina meters for good measure. Was that a pun? I'm not sure. Moving on. The likes of God of War have no such restriction on your movements. There is no limit to how much you can run, attack or roll before you have to cool down, and none of this is changed depending on the weight of your equipment. I thought back on the many different games I have experienced in my 40 years on this earth. I considered games I had written off because the movement didn't feel right, like it didn't have enough weight to it or it just felt janky. I remembered how back in my Call of Duty days, the Black Ops games always seemed to feel floatier.
Okay, that's a good point. Having So what makes movement fun? Let's think about it. Active inputs. That's one thing. Nobody likes to just hold W. That's boring.
Modern Warfare installments. I remembered Final Fantasy 13.
It does. It does. Camera animations are a big part of it. You're totally right. But here's the thing, you can have the best camera animations, but if all you're doing is holding W, that's still not really fun. So what I'm thinking about is how can I make it interactive? Because given that like there's not going to be shooting in the game I'm trying to make, I don't want player to rely on aim. I'm thinking, what can I do to increase meaningful inputs is a way to put it. But no, that's a good one. Camera animation. That is definitely true. Overwatch has extremely simple movement, but it feels great because camera is very animated when you jump or land or do anything. Like it tilts left, right. Here's the thing, does feeling of speed matter? I mean, it does. Yeah, that's a good one. But that goes under active inputs, right? But that basically means uh, encouraging use of horizontal inputs. But I would say this is I would subscribe this to at least to a degree to level design. So bring to front, please. I would say that this is directly combined to level design. Or is that? That's what I'm thinking. Is it? Because like in Quake you use strafing even though you're going forward. But at the same time, that I don't really want to use like your typical strafe jumping. I feel like it's a nice mechanic, but it's hard mechanic to teach player as a tutorial, like as a mechanic in the game they have to use. It's not very straightforward to teach someone. I would argue that level design makes movement fun though, because there's definitely levels that can play more or less fun depending on how level forces you to use your inputs. No, like floaty move. People usually say they don't like floaty movement, but at the same time, when you play games like Deadlock, Quake, a lot of these games actually have floaty movement. So degree of inertia is important. I guess the good way is to say feeling smooth but responsive. Because if it's too responsive, kind of like Overwatch, that doesn't feel nice. It cannot be just AB. It needs to have a degree of inertia. I would say like a range of movement options. Stuff like grappling hook, wall running, all makes this shit more fun. No, I've not tried that. Yeah, but it's also the case of like, since I want to make a game that's in line with, you know, the Trackmanias and so on, I'm thinking about like what I have right now. It just feels a bit dull, and it's not just level. It's just that it feels not interesting. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, what can I do to make it more make it feel better. I definitely want to remove dash, because like I have a dash mechanic, and while that works really well in combat scenarios, having dash effectively means that you're locked in a direction. So I will want to replace that with an impulse. So I guess movement built around desired gameplay experience. That's one way to put it. So being deliberate with the mechanics. Also, I would say most of the games that feel good really benefit from chaining different techniques. And having strong audiovisual feedback, which kind of goes in line with camera animations. Now, what do I suck with? My active input aspect is not particularly great because I wanted to have reduced strafing strength based on player speed. Predictable behavior, another one. Nothing is more frustrating than characters suddenly doing something that you don't expect it to do. Like if you're on the ledge, you don't want character to suddenly start wall sliding. Let's see this game. This game constantly shifts between two different movement styles. On one hand, you're running. On the other hand, you're going to just like a very low gravity climb. in that very Sonic-like way. And then level supports it with using heals, so it's all about heals and building momentum and retaining it from a jump. Building and retaining, building, retaining.
If you're a complete, I can do in a 2-minute video section. Some settings. Put crouch on best. Your second best friend is air strafing. While having some speed, turn your view and move into the same direction. This will A, let you change direction, and B, give you speed. Do not hold forward while air strafing. You can and should combine air strafing with slide hopping, but air strafing is also a phenomenal tool when using your third best friend, wall running. Wall running is what takes the ground-based examples I showed so far and lets us chain them together into all directions. Do hold forward while wall running, but also maybe do hold backwards or even sideways while wall running. All possible. Start by just chaining together normal forward wall runs, then introduce some slides in between and evolve those into slide hops. At last, the two abilities that give you speed. Stimming. Use it on walls, please. This gives you so much more speed than using it on the ground or even worse, mid-air. Grappling is a gift from the movement gods and I want to grow old with it. Most important aspect, you are not locked into being pulled towards the grapple point.
A regular jump. Do on the wall, you're going to accelerate up to about 31 kph until you drop off or until you jump off. When you jump off, you're going to get back up to 42 kph, and that's pretty standard for max speed. This is what you can expect if you're trying to do things effectively, walk around and shoot without paying too much attention and not having ideal situations.
Feeling of speed is another one that's important. Having a movement feel fast does make the game just feel better all that much. Yeah, I think I aim to try to rely pretty much all of the movement games of characters rely as little as possible on ground movement. They pretty much all try to prioritize jumping or dashing or wall running. Ground is boring.
Hi, I'm Leaf, and this is edge boosting. The wall jump gives the character air acceleration both toward and away from the surface of the wall, but not parallel to it. At a corner, the direction of the wall jump is instead somewhere between the two walls. An edge boost effectively stacks speed parallel to the wall with new acceleration from a portion of the vector formed by the angled wall jump. A wall jump can still be done for a very short time after leaving contact with the wall. Edge boosting involves hitting a wall jump after you have left the surface of the wall but before the end of this small window. In other words, from here to about here. Not a very big window. To give an idea of when you should wall jump,
Bar. That's it for the first step. Make everything the same as in the first step, but accessible to the wall after mantle to perform a wall jump. For that, you need to understand how mantle works. I come up with a little exercise for you to better understand it. You need a camera and just way to hold space and W and move your camera to the left to be sure all the at 10 minutes and you understand that is actually kinda easy. Again, it is very important for a hero to move on.
Okay, so active inputs, camera animations, encourage horizontal inputs, that's true. Smooth but responsive. Range of movement options, yeah, like a lot of good feeling games have like grappling hooks, wall runs, crouch slide, and so on. Movement built around desired gameplay experience. That's a big one. I really have to ask myself what it is that I actually want the game to feel like. Like, do I want it to represent something like Deadlock, where it's slower movement speed and keeping up speed by bouncing off the wall and reducing ground contact? Do I want it to be about moving as fast as possible, like Sonic or Haste? Or like, do I want it to be more like sliding, sort of like surf maps? And using environment for it, like slopes and so on. Or do I want to have all of them? Probably not, because some of them are not really supporting each other. Chaining techniques, that goes directly with this build movement built around desired experience, but most of the games have like you will jump and then you do this, so it's basically this is basically as it's active inputs. Can I make an arrow? How do I change color? Can I change color? That's basically it, that's active inputs. Camera animation, that's audio visual feedback. And again, that's again active inputs. Predictable behavior. Well, I would say that kind of comes down to making it feel deliberate. And this again, growl with obstacles is boring, so this is basically this, and this again. And feeling of speed. Again, feeling of speed is basically fun because it's audio-visual feedback of you doing well. And range of movement options is again active inputs. And this, let's move by responsive. Well, that again comes down to what do you want the game to be. So effective, what I have to ask myself is how do I imagine game to play? And then try to create a system that would support this behavior in generic environment. I might just get like I might just try to find like a test level map and just have a place to see how the game feels. I'm definitely not going for landscape type of experience. Do I want sprint? I don't think sprint really adds much because if you make it limited, if you already have slides, wall jumps, like wall ride, increase speed, slide, increase speed, boost, increase speed. I could then have perfectly timed jumps. Do not reduce momentum. But then I also want to have if every single I guess I would have it as impulses, but then cap speed to certain value. The danger I'm going into is I don't want it to be a jumping game, like the sort of Quake style jumping movement. I don't think it feels particularly good. Okay, I think straight line movement, do not lose momentum. But low speed on horizontal input. And the idea behind this really would be so that player has to think about which line they take around map. So if they keep going forward, they keep going, but if they start losing direction, they start to lose speed. So suddenly they want to try reducing sharp turning. If changing direction while on ground. So this could be kind of, this will basically replicate braking in a racing game. In a racing game, you brake before you are on the corner, but in there that you do that because you're dealing with grip factors. In here, that's not really the case, but low speed if you change directions. Make stopping be you know, turning speed. Turning ability based on velocity. My work. Anyway, I have to head off. I'm starving. I need to get something to eat. And I need to really think on that and watch some videos, educate myself on how to approach this. But that's not really anything interesting and rule based, so I'm gonna call it for the day. Well, thanks for sticking around. But yeah, I need to take